Hey y'all, let's talk about something different today. Let's talk about things that I wish I had done differently when I was a young pediatrician and a young parent. First, let me say that new and trendy always has an allure that attracts all of us. My wife and I were no different. New and trendy when we were young parents was a very legalistic Christian parenting trend that was followed by many conservative Christian parents at the time. I look back and realize we made so many mistakes and have had to deal with the ramifications of those in my children's lives over the years. This actually is one of the main reasons I post on social media about parenting. I so wish that I had had a wise, experienced Christian parent giving me advice that was based on scripture, experienced wisdom, and time tested. As a result, that is one of my goals in posting on social media about this. Because of the background of my family and the trend at the time, I definitely had more of a law approach to parenting more than a grace approach to parenting. Law parenting can be summed up with a couple of phrases: be seen but not heard, and because I said so. There are certain times that those are necessary as parents, of course, but if that is the overarching theme of your parenting, you are going to be on the law side of things, and relationships with your children will suffer. Grace parenting has its own issues as well. Chaos and negotiations and a different kind of stress related to that are the result of overly graceful parenting. Relationships suffer with that approach as well. Somewhere in the middle is where you want to be. In light of that background, I will say that one of the main things I did wrong was choosing rules over relationship. That was easier in the short run, but damaging to relationships in the long run. Value relationships more than rules. Parenting can be incredibly stressful, and when the quote bullets are flying, it is very easy to react rather than to respond. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. I did that too many times to count, unfortunately. I was also fairly easily manipulated by tears and emotions. That was not something that I had grown up with in my family, and I wasn't sure how to navigate those. My wife was much better at navigating that than I was. As I have matured and have been able to analyze and read more about parenting, it has become crystal clear that all behavior, especially in the preschool and young elementary children, is learned. So the whining, crying, fussing, and fretting about random little things, they're all learned behaviors and attempts to get you to change your mind and for the child to get their way. So my recommendation about that is to not give in to the emotional manipulation. Realize that you are always teaching something, even if you are ignoring behavior. By nature, I was a conflict avoider, and I still am, unfortunately. But when it came to conflict with my kids, I did not see it as a good, healthy thing for my kids to experience. I saw it more as just more emotions and struggle to have to deal with, and not as a growth opportunity. Now, on the other side of things, and with more maturity, I see the benefit of the conflict and what a tremendous opportunity that conflict was. It is for growth for both the parent and the child. But the parent has to see the conflict as beneficial for their child first. The struggle is actually where the growth occurs, just like working out. If you don't lift heavier weights, you will not get any stronger. I highly recommend that you get a grasp of that so that your child can grow up maximizing those growth opportunities. Because of my conflict avoidant tendencies, I would often distract rather than discipline. I would engage them in something else to do rather than dealing head on with problematic behavior. That wasn't helpful. It was hurtful. And a lot of pain and struggle could have been prevented if I had done a better job with that. That was especially not fair to my wife, since she was with the children a lot more than I was and having to deal with the after effects of that. On the more long-term front, I often know I lost sight of the forest for the trees. I would get hung up on small behaviors and try to stamp them out rather than dealing with the long-term implications of the way I was dealing with the behaviors, or the long-term implications of not dealing with a certain behavior. That was probably my biggest issue. I wanted so badly to avoid the conflict to all of our detriment. I just failed to keep a long-term view in mind at all times. That is very hard to do. But if you think about it on the front end and are intentional about it, it's a whole lot easier. There are many, many more that I could come up with if I thought long enough, but these are the main ones, my main mistakes I made. I hope these are helpful. I am trying to save young parents some of the pain and struggle that my wife and I had as young parents and give the advice that I wish I had had when I was a young parent. I'm sure it was out there, but I was too proud to avail myself of it, unfortunately. Now with the internet, it is right at your fingertips, but you have to be discerning because there are so many opinions out there of what the right thing to do is. As I said at the beginning, new and trendy is always enticing to new parents. Gentle parenting or positive parenting or attachment parenting, those are all generally the same thing to me. Those are the newest parenting strategies that are sucking parents in. One of the points of this video is to tell you that new and trendy usually isn't best when it comes to human interaction and behavior. It wasn't for us and it won't be for you. Gentle parenting falls into that category to me. Don't gamble your child's well-being on something that hasn't stood the test of time. If you like real-world parenting advice, please like, follow, and subscribe.